Welcome, listeners and live stream viewers. Welcome to Change It Up Radio. I am your host, Paula Shaw, and I am delighted to be doing my first show for 2021. We were all ready for a change, weren't we? So, Change It Up Radio is rocking it right now. We are at the beginning of a new year where everybody on the planet is excited about the promise of what's possible once the new year comes, once the change is brought about. It's kind of like, okay, it's in motion now, let's see what happens. And I think traditionally, probably since time began and people knew something about time, this tradition of New Year has been always filled with hope. Excuse me, always filled with anticipation of what could come and dreams and wishes of what could be. I am your host on Change It Up Radio, Paula Shaw. I am an author, the author actually of this book, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. And I have to tell you, this is a little book, but it is a mighty book. It is a little treasure trove of even specific statements of what to say and what not to say when you're having those conversations that are difficult. Whether the other person is in pain or whether it's an awkward situation, whatever it is, there are those moments when none of us know exactly what to say. And too often we turn to preaching or teaching or trying to be a mentor, that kind of thing. It's not what people need in the midst of a difficult conversation. So please pick this book up, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. It's on Amazon, easy to get. And I promise you, it's a quick read, but it's one you're going to want to keep in your purse or your glove box just to refresh yourself before those difficult conversations. And by the way, little bonus here, on my website, paulashaw.com, you can get a free download of a paper entitled 20 Things to Say and Not to Say to People in Pain. And this literally gives you specific sentences that are helpful and good to say and specific ones that are not. That is a free gift if you go to paulashaw.com. That you're going to want for sure to keep in your purse or your briefcase or your glove box. All right. I am also the author of Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? And I especially love this book because I wrote it during a time when I was going through my own grief. I had lost my former husband, who had been my best friend for 20 years. And I lost the family dog. Well, we lost the family dog within a month of Gary's death. So it was a very difficult time. And a client came to me and he was telling me about the loss of his dog and he was just sobbing. And I looked at him and said, I don't know exactly how you feel. And by the way, that's a good thing to say because you don't know how anybody feels. So don't say, I know how you feel. I said, I don't know exactly how you feel, but I have some idea because I too lost my dog. And he said, really, when? And I said, just a month ago. No, I think at that time, actually, let's see, that was in October and I had lost Sammy in August. So it was 2 months. I said, so I must have responded 2 months ago. And he looked at me kind of incredulously and he said, are you on meds? And I chuckled and I said, no, actually, I'm not. And he said, what did you do? Because I knew in that moment he couldn't imagine a time in his life when he would ever be out of the kind of pain he was experiencing. And I also knew right then and there that I had to put down in writing the things that had helped me so much. And this book, Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End, is not a book you have to read from cover to cover. You can open it at any particular place and see what it brings you. It also has very short chapters, which are followed by tools, processes, and articles that can help you with the grief that you're experiencing. So please, again, on Amazon, Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? I'm also a speaker, and I love to speak about topics like change and grief and saying the right thing. And if you're interested in a speaker for your program, your conference, whatever, please check that out also. That information is on paulshaw.com. And if you want more information about this radio show, you can go to changeitupradio.com, and you'll see information about who our listeners are, who, if you're interested in sponsoring or being a guest on this show, all that information is right there on changeitupradio.com. Also, past shows are all archived there. And we have had some amazing people on this show over time. This is our third year. And you might really enjoy just scrolling through, go to the listen in tab, scroll through some of those shows and see what calls to you. We're also, of course, posted on every major podcast platform, including Podopolo, which is the latest state-of-the-art podcast platform that has gaming and rewards and all kinds of cool things tied in. So check us out there on Podopolo or whatever your favorite podcast platform is. We're also on iHeartRadio and Blog Talk Radio. It's not hard to find us. And if you forget all of that, just ask Alexa or ask Siri. They know exactly where we are. So I'm so excited to be coming to you on this show. And I've decided not to bring a guest on today because I have so many things I want to talk to you about. We all just got through the holidays, and they were very different holidays this year for most of us because, as we're all well aware, we're still in a pandemic. We are all still dealing with COVID-19, and life as we have known it has not yet returned to what we all like to call normal. I'm not sure we ever will get back to normal. You know, one of the things I teach in my grief work is that, you know, everybody always says, I just want to feel normal again. I just want to get back to normal when they've suffered a huge grief issue. But the truth is, we never get back to exactly the same way it was because things happen to us when we're in process. And much has happened to many of us being in process with COVID-19. And so I always say, be ready to accept the new normal. And most of the time, that new normal is really a better, far richer normal than the one we had, because it comes packaged with the growth, the insight, the awareness, and the experiences that we had while we were grieving. And those of you who follow this show know that I have spoken before about the fact that I feel that we're a world of grievers right now, because I don't care who you are, where you live, something in your life has been altered by this pandemic. And so nothing is ever going to be exactly the same for us as it was before. And in many cases, actually, that's been quite a good thing. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show, because I've come up with an acronym for COVID that I can't wait to share with you. And I think it's important. And I always teach this to my clients because I don't know if I mentioned that already. Most of you know I am also a life transition coach. So I am always working with people who are dealing with change of some kind. And change comes in many forms, as we know. There's the loss of a friend or a loved one through death. There's losses of health, losses of job, losses of home, losses of self-esteem, losses of identity. All of these things create grief. They create turmoil in our lives because suddenly the comfort of the familiar is gone. And we love the comfort of the familiar. And we're not so good with the discomfort of new things. We really don't like that at all. And so change is tricky. Change is very tricky. We talk about that every week here on Change It Up Radio. It's a blessing. Without it, we'd all be bored to death and our lives would kill us from sameness. You know, we would hate it. But on the other hand, we humans like feeling comfy. We like knowing our way around. We kind of like the illusion of knowing what's going to happen. And it is an illusion, right? Because change is out there. It's the one thing we can certainly count on. Change, it's coming, whether we like it or not. And right now, we are a country in the midst of change. The United States is about to get a new president. We are in the midst still of Senate elections. Things are going on. Things are changing whether we like it or not. And I think it's important. It's really important that we all get better at change. Because if we can't accept change, we fight it. And when we fight it, we use a lot of precious energy and we use a lot of precious thought time. And we're not living in the moment. We're living in our past worry or our future anxiety. And that is not a good, healthy way to live life. So please stick around. We're going to be talking about healthy ways to handle change and healthy ways to go into this new year. We will be right back. All right. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio, here with Paula Shaw. I am your host. I'm an author, a speaker, a life transition coach, and I am so happy to be alive and well and healthy here in the first week of 2021. We're talking about change, and I'd like to kind of stay with that theme for a minute because there are a few things I want to talk to you about today. I mean, first of all, our country has gone through both political and all kinds of upheaval, financial upheaval. Many changes have been thrust upon us due to the pandemic that we've all been living through. And, you know, I have to say, it's pretty hard these days not to have some conversation about the politics of this country because we're in the middle of it. And whether we like it or not, we can't deny it. And while I'm not a political show, I do want to say that never in my lifetime do I remember a time when it mattered as much to everybody, whether you were a Democrat or a Republican. You know, just the other night, I was watching a show on Jimmy Carter, and I can't even remember exactly what year he was president, but it was a while back. And what I loved about seeing in that time, and it made me cry several times, was there wasn't this bipartisanship that exists now that's so predominant in everyone's lives. It was, we were Americans and we were working together, we were doing things together. And this man, Jimmy Carter, what a beautiful human being. And he has done more since his presidency to help the world than any other president in history. I mean, he was an amazing man. And unfortunately, we didn't get his second term because the Iran hostage crisis just caused so many problems because he was just so set on wanting to bring those Americans home alive. Many people criticized the way he was handling it. And so he was voted out of office and Ronald Reagan came in. But my point is, my plea to anybody listening to this show in 2021 or any other year to come, let's get back to being Americans. Let's get back to just doing what's right, no matter what party you are. Let's just do the right thing. Let's help other people. Let's make this planet a better place. To me, that feels so clean and so simple. I'm not sure why that should be a problematic issue. But for some people, it really seems to be, and they are blatantly taking action that's just wrong, clearly wrong, and not for the highest good of all. So I just urge you all, if there's a question in your mind what to do, ask yourself, will it contribute to the better good of all? Will it make the world a better place? Will it help my fellow man? And if the answer is yes, do it. Whether your party or your group or your club or your friends are doing it or not. Stand for what's right for you. Stand for who you are and who you want to be in this year, 2021. Energies have changed. It's exciting. We're actually finally really in the age of Aquarius. All things are possible, my friends. And we need to get out there and make those realities happen for us. And none of it happens by chance. Well, that's not true. Some wonderful things happen by chance. I've experienced some pretty amazing things happening by chance. But I have to believe it's really more about the seeds that I've already sown that came back to me rather than just flat out chance. So just every day, live in your integrity. Every day, do the best you can for who you are and what you know. And I think then you can lay your head on the pillow at night and sleep well. Now, along those lines, we've been talking about change, and we're making some changes this year on Change It Up Radio. I've decided that the first and the last shows of the month will be me, and I will be either teaching something or presenting some information that I find valuable or that I use in my practice. So listening to this show, you will pick up some tips, some tools, some techniques that can actually help you change your life. And today we're going to be dealing with that very thing. The other thing that's going to change about this show is I am creating a group that I'm going to call Paula's Preferred Professionals. And these are going to be professional people who will be sponsors of the show, but will be paying a very, very small sponsorship fee and getting a huge amount of perks for that fee. So let me share a little of that with you. Those sponsorship monies will create for the people that choose to be involved an interview opportunity every quarter. And of course, once you are a guest on this show, you own that show. You can put it on your website. You can put it in social media. You can edit out sound bites. You can do whatever you like. It will also include, of course, being broadcast on AM 1170, The Answer, and 96.1 FM, The Answer. You will be on every major podcast platform, and that show lives forever. We don't take our shows down. They stay on the podcast platform. These people who become Paula's Preferred Professionals for a really, really ridiculously crazy low fee will also be able to have commercials created for their business, professionally created commercials by our team in Los Angeles. And those commercials will be played on the show each week. And these, whoever is selected will be exclusive. Like I will have only one real estate person, one mortgage loan broker, one financial aid, one life coach, one business coach, that sort of thing. That's it. There will be no competition among my preferred professionals. But let me say this is not going to be me kind of culling through a bunch of applications and not really knowing these people and then choosing somebody. I will have to have personal experience with all of these people. So, of course, the first people that I'll be reaching out to are professionals that I have had firsthand experience with. So, if you're one of those and you know it, reach out to me or I'll be reaching out to you. But if you're someone I don't know, I'm happy to spend some time in a Zoom call, on the phone, or at your business, getting to know and experience what you do so that you might qualify for Paula's preferred professionals. There will also be many, many other perks. Weekly shout outs. I'll be mentioning these people every week on the show. Social media postings. You know, for each show, we create beautiful graphics for you, show notes. We put that on social media. We put that on the Change It Up radio site and on my site, paulashaw.com, and KCBQ. So there are many, many, many advantages, including this evergreen advertising. Because as I said, these shows last forever. This is a radio show, but we podcast it. So if people don't hear it on the hour it airs, they can hear it anytime they like on a podcast platform. So that's Paula's preferred professionals. If you're interested in that, please reach out to me either through email on Paula at changeitupradio.com. That's Paula at changeitupradio.com. Or you can reach me through KCBQ, or there's always a phone number to reach me on my website. Also, by the way, on my website, I offer a complimentary 20-minute consult. So anything I talk about or anything I teach, if you think it might be a fit for you and you have interest in doing that work or learning more about it, please reach out to me. Reach out to me through my website. Make an appointment to do that 20-minute consult. It might be 20 minutes that changes your life. Okay, now the exciting thing I wanted to share with you, the next exciting thing I wanted to share with you is the acronym I have come up with for COVID. Because we all know, and we've all heard plenty of complaints from everybody about COVID. And yes, it has been a real hardship on many people. But in every hardship, there's always a blessing. There's always a gift. And I think one of the gifts of COVID is, and I'll say this certainly for myself, in the process of slowing down, because, you know, where were you going to go? Who were you going to hang with? What were you going to do? In the process of all of that, it's allowed a lot of time for introspection. It's allowed a lot of time to go within. I think it's also been an amazingly creative time. I mean, the things people were creating on Zoom, those beautiful things we all saw, where the children of Italy sang Nessun Dorma, where children of America sang What the World Needs Now. Remember all of that? And we've seen the Oscars and football games, I mean, and basketball, all that's been created new because we had to. And sometimes we need that kick in the butt. Sometimes we are dragged kicking and screaming into the next thing that's even better for us. And for a lot of us, I know myself included, that was one of the gifts of COVID. So I have come up with this acronym, COVID, COVID 19. C, consciousness. O, outed. V, via. I, internal. D, dialogue. So COVID, consciousness outed via internal dialogue. And then 19 breaks down in numerology, you add the numbers together. So 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 breaks down to a 1, and 1 is about new beginnings. So consciousness outed via internal dialogue, creating new beginnings. I think it's very exciting to think about, and I believe that's the gift of COVID. It gave us new beginnings. We'll be talking more about that in our next segment. We're right back. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio here with Paula Shaw. Oh, I have so much to tell you today in this first episode of the new year. So one of the changes that I have experienced in my own life is that I have created a new method. Now, those of you who don't know me, I will tell you a little bit about the kind of work I do. I am a founding member of the Association of Comprehensive Energy Psychology. So when you work with me, it's not just doing talk therapy. We do processes and techniques to intervene on your energy field, on the subconscious mind, on the chakras, the meridians, and the biofield. And all of those places, I mean, I think we're all becoming more and more educated these days that everything is energy. Everything in the universe, even your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your hair, it's all particles and waves of energy that have come together to form specific things. So one of the things that I have learned over the years is most effective in helping people actually create meaningful change in their life is working with their energy, helping them to clear the waves, the particles, the neural nets, the energy conglomerations that are causing problematic behaviors, that are causing thoughts and words and deeds and behaviors that are not in your highest good, that are not helping you create the outcomes that you want to create. So I have come up with a new process that I call genetic soul release. And I love that because it kind of speaks to the fact that this process is not just about clearing limiting beliefs. It's not just about tapping out behaviors. It's not just about ending emotional or physical pain. This is about clearing all the nooks and crannies. So let me give you a little background. Wouldn't it, first of all, be great if we could all live our lives from this sort of perspective of neutrality? So whatever happens, whatever goes down, whatever the election outcomes, whatever the deeds, whatever your children's grades are, however you're treated at the office, whatever happened, you could just accept it and move on in this place of neutrality. But that doesn't often happen to we humans. What ends up happening is instead we put story overlay on what happens. So let me give you an example. From the position of acceptance and neutrality, you would view something like, let's say last night you had a fight with your partner. So from neutrality, you might say, wow, John just had a tough night last night. He wasn't in a good place. And we ended up in a silly argument. But, we talked it through this morning and everything's good. Now, story overlay looks more like this. I don't know what is going on with John. It's like he cannot hear me and he's so grumpy all the time. And, this is just taking me right back to when Jimmy and I were having our fights all the time. And it turned out he was cheating on me. Why is it I'm always attracted to these men who are likable narcissist cheaters? What is going on? So, did you hear all the supposition, the innuendo, the going back to the past, not being present in the moment, all of that was there in that statement that I made, the second one, with story overlay? I'm taking bits and pieces of my life experiences and I'm putting it on a situation that may have nothing in common with anything I just said. So when this kind of issue is showing up in our life, it happens basically for three reasons. Okay, so reason one, old woundings from traumatic and painful experiences. Reason two, limiting beliefs created by those old woundings or by other life experiences. And number three, and this is the big bonanza, guys, we've only learned this in the last few years through the science of epigenetics. But we inherit the genetic signatures of how our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors responded to life. Let me say that again. We inherit the genetic signatures to how our parents, our grandparents, and our ancestors responded to life. So if the people in our family responded by going within, getting quiet, feeling shame, not fighting back, we will find those tendencies within ourselves. If they responded with getting hot, getting ready to fight, being furious, or with a lot of drama and woe is me and why me, we inherit those genetic signatures. Now, that may not be, and in most cases, it isn't what we want to experience in our lives to live our lives effectively. What we really want to experience is being able to handle things in the way that is most productive. Excuse me, most productive for us, most productive for accomplishing what we want to accomplish, and for getting to the end result that we want. But if you're one of those people that has found yourself over and over again saying, why do I do that? God, why did I say that? Why do I always react that way? I know that's not good for me. Why am I stuck in this habit that I can't seem to give up when I know it's not good for my body? Why do I keep opening my mouth and sounding like my mother, even though my brain does not want to have anything to do with that kind of behavior? Well, this is the reason why. The three things I just said to you, your old woundings and the traumatic experiences you've actually had in your own life, the limiting beliefs that can result from those old woundings and other experiences you have, and from the genetic signatures you inherited from your parents, grandparents, and ancestors. Now, are you stuck? Are you forever going to be that histrionic woman that can't stand up for herself or can't function in a powerful way when she needs to? No, you don't have to be, because all of those things that I just listed for you are just particles and waves of energy that have aligned to form certain things, form those beliefs, form those reactions, form those behaviors. And we have ways to disintegrate those forms that have aligned. We have ways to make those particles and waves of energy desynchronize, go out of phase, dissolve. And that's what we do in this genetic soul release process. I am very excited about it. The people who have experienced it so far have really seen big, and I mean big, life shifts, big changes in these problematic areas that they thought couldn't be fixed or that they thought were out of their control. Genetic soul release. So I'm about to release an email, and if you're not on my email list, you can also look for the content of this email on the Paula Shaw Facebook page, on Change It Up Radio Facebook page. I'm going to be talking about a special that I'm offering for the remainder of January. And it's going to be, if you're somebody, who either needs a tune-up, you need to just get your energy balanced again and need to be heading in the direction that you really want to head. If COVID knocked you off kilter, if it seemed to throw you out of balance, and I don't know anybody who it didn't, then you might want to take advantage of this. Or if you're somebody who's become intrigued by the sound of the genetic soul release process, please reach out to me, because I am offering sessions. If you book them, you don't even have to do them in January, but if you book them by January 31st, you can get $75 off my normal fee. So if you are desirous of doing that, you can go to paulashaw.com. That'll hook you up with how to reach me. You can email me at paula@changeitupradio.com. Or you can also go to the changeitupradio.com website, and there's information there how to reach out. But I'm telling you, I'm excited about this process, because what I've seen so far is really pretty huge. And it's so hot off the press. The only reason I was able to put this process together is thanks to a dear friend who is a genetic researcher, Kulvinder Kaur, Dr. Kulvinder Kaur. She's been on this show before, and she will be again. But she introduced me to the concept that we inherit these genetic signatures from our ancestors. And so I gave her the first session of genetic soul release, and I'm telling you, some major things have happened in our life. So if that intrigues you at all, or if just the idea of doing a little tune-up sounds good to you, reach out to me. Reach out to me and let's get you booked so we can change it up, so you can move on with your life the way you really want it to be. Okay, we will be right back after this message. Okay, I think this is the last one. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio. Oh my goodness, we've had so much to talk about today. And I mentioned early on that we are going to be having 2 shows a month from now on, where I will be teaching processes or tools or something, sharing those things with you, because one of our missions here on Change It Up Radio is to offer tools and techniques and information that can help you deal more productively with change and upheaval in your own life. And we are really going to be dedicated to that mission in the coming year, because change is the one constant there is, isn't it? And too often it catches us off guard, or it just nails us and slams us down. I know many of you heard my show a few weeks ago where I talked about what I call now the rat seminar. And you know that my home became infested with rats, and my landlord refused to bring professionals in to remedy the situation. So you talk about upheaval. I lived with rats in my home for 2 weeks and then said no more, and then had very little time to find a place to live, to pack, and to get moved. It was upheaval at the highest levels. And I'll tell you, I found myself really having to use my tools, and still, it was a lot of struggle. I experienced physical and emotional stress and duress like I haven't had to experience in years. So I'm right there with any of you who are going through that kind of thing right now. But I will say, although I was dragged kicking and screaming to the change, oh my goodness, where I am now is so much better. And the landlord here is a wonderful, beautiful person, and I have a much bigger home, and it's just a wonderful, happy, supportive place. So remember, if you're in the midst of the change right now, if you're being dragged kicking and screaming, I know that part sucks. It's awful. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, I promise you. There's something so much better that you're being led to. So much better. And so, we're all in this together right now, right? I mean, we're all experiencing change on crazy levels. Change in our homes. I can't tell you how many other people I know who have had to move. Changes in our jobs. We've all seen it. I mean, I was in Rancho Santa Fe yesterday. I couldn't believe how many buildings were up for lease, how many businesses have had to close, how many restaurants or shops don't exist anymore, or they only exist online. I mean, it's been upheaval and change of the highest degree. And it's tough. It's very tough. I know so many people who've experienced changes in their personal lives that have actually been very positive. They've decided to give up on the shoulds. Stop worrying about the things you should do and get into the things that feel right or feel good. A lot of people have made changes in their diet, in their exercise routine, in their habits, the lifestyle. I know myself, I want to challenge everybody. I heard this challenge in a workshop that was done by a fabulous spiritual coach that I love and work with. JJ Joshua is her name. And at the end, she said, imagine what your life would look like 1 year from now if you took on the challenge of changing one thing that bothers you now, or one thing that you know isn't serving you well. And I heard those words and I thought, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be a year from now in the same behaviors that I have fought for and that I've rationalized and done all the things we do so we can stay stuck. And the one I decided to change was I really, to be totally honest with you, always looked forward to my glass of wine at night. Now, I'm not talking about a bottle of wine. I'm talking about a glass of wine, maybe two. But I didn't worry that I was becoming an alcoholic because I don't like drunk. And as soon as I start feeling my alcohol, I stop. But what bothered me was it was a habit. It was calling to me. I wasn't calling to it. And whenever anything is owning you, it's robbing you of your power. And I knew it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to do it because it was a nice, comfy little pattern. But I decided, all right, it takes 21 days, they say, to reset a habit. And I would say I was not an alcoholic drinker at all. I was a habitual drinker. I loved my glass of wine. It just was sort of the signal to shift from work to relaxation. It was a way of enhancing the meal and enjoying the meal more, all the things we say. But I decided I want to have that glass of wine when I want it. I don't want to have to be compelled to have it. And so I'm on my 21-day dry January experience. And I gotta be perfectly honest, the first few days were tough. It was like, oh no, the evening's coming. I'm not gonna have my wine. But the universe stepped in and helped me because I got a little stomach bug. And so wine was definitely not appealing when I had that stomach bug. But then I realized, I was doing that and some other things, and I was really sleeping better. I was getting more done until I stopped working. And I just, there'd been that little bit of a pooch around my waistline that I couldn't seem to shake. And I noticed this morning after my shower, oh, waistline shrinking. And those are always motivators, right, girls? But I just decided to take that thing on. So I challenge you, take something on that you really haven't been wanting to face, that you don't really want to do, but you do really want to do it because you know it's going to make your life better. It's easy to stay stuck, guys. It's easy to stay in what's familiar and comfortable. But is it serving you? Is it serving you well? Now, the one last thing I want to pass on to you in this show is something I learned in a workshop last month called Conscious Completion. And this workshop was put on by the woman whose name I've already mentioned, JJ Joshua, who is a spiritual coach. And JJ talked about something that I had known to be true, but I'd kind of forgotten. You know how we know certain things and then we forget we know them? JJ talked about how important it is to complete things in our lives because otherwise it's taking up energetic space. It's taking up thought space. It's taking up emotional space. It's taking up space. And it's hard for us to go forward if we're tethered to the past by something that is related to the past, i.e., resentments, bitterness, story, any of those things. So this process that she taught us is based on a couple of basic principles. And one is everything happened in the only way it could. Everything happened in the only way it could. And the proof of that is that's how it happened. It may not have happened the way you wanted it to or the way you thought it should happen, but it happened in the only way it could. And why? Because everybody's doing the best they can for who they are and what they know in that moment in time. Those two principles, everything happened the only way it could, and everyone is doing the best they can for who they are and what they know at the time. Those two principles do two major things. A, they end the shoulda, woulda, coulda thinking that haunts most of us and robs us of our sleep. And B, they open the door for forgiveness. And what is the real value of forgiveness? Freedom. Freedom. If we don't forgive, we remain prisoners. Forgiveness gives us freedom. So here's what I want to urge you all to do at the end of every day. And I urged my followers to do this at the end of 2020. And there's still time to do it for 2020. You just say something to the effect of these words. I call this day, or I call this year complete. I did the best I could for who I was and what I knew. And so did everyone else. Everything happened in the only way it could. I forgive everything, and I call it complete. Do this for the day, do it for the year. You can do it each hour if you want to. But keep completing the segments of time of your life so that you can empty the energetic space and be ready for the next thing that comes, not go into the next moment preoccupied with what happened before, so you're not open. Hopefully that makes good sense to you all. We need to be open and ready for the next thing life has to offer us, or we will not receive it. We will not benefit from it. We will not be able to take it in and use it in our work, in our relationships, in our lives. So call this day complete before you go to sleep tonight. And remember the words, I call this day complete. I did the best I could for who I was and what I knew at the time. And so did everyone else. Everything happened the only way it could. I forgive everything. And I call this day complete. And if you didn't do that for 2020, do it, because a lot happened in that year. And I think we all want to be complete with it. And so with that, I call this show complete. I did the best I could, and everything happened in the only way it could. I forgive myself for any errors, and I call this show complete. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for helping me kick off 2021. And remember, you can hear us on AM 1170, The Answer, and 96.1 FM, The Answer, on Sunday evenings at 9 o'clock. And you can hear us anytime on all major podcast platforms, including iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio, and Podopolo, my new favorite platform. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's hot. It really is. Remember that you can get information on me. You can get my free offers. You can reach out to me if you want to schedule a session at my $75 off January offer. You can find all that info at paulashaw.com. You can find out information about this show on changeitupradio.com. And it's not there yet, but very soon there will be a page on Paula's Preferred Professionals. So if you're interested in that, let me know. If you want to become a preferred professional sponsor of this show, we want to talk to you. All right. Have a great rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you here next week with a very exciting guest. All right. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.